Hello everyone, welcome back to another episode of Ocean State Aquatics TV. With the weather warming up, today I'm going to be bringing you common tips to keep your axolotl tank cool with this warmer weather. So first we are going to start off with the easiest solution, and that is tank placement. So you want to make sure that your axolotl tank is not getting any direct sunlight because that can drastically increase the temperature of your tank. You also want to make sure that your tank is in a room that has some capacity of air conditioning or temperature regulation to make sure that the room itself doesn't get too hot, because if it does, your best efforts to keep your tank cool will not work as well. The best way to keep your axolotls cool is going to be using a piece of an equipment called a chiller. Chillers will take water out of your tank, cool it down, and put it back in, so it regulates the temperature of your tank to the range that axolotls like, so there is no temperature swings and that it stays in an acceptable range. In the summers, a chiller is one of the most essential pieces of equipment for an axolotl tank because it can prevent diseases, it can prevent infections, it can prevent premature death in a lot of axolotls. Because of all of these reasons, it is very important that you keep your tank at a stable, cooler temperature in an acceptable range. If you do not currently have a chiller or you are waiting for yours to come in, here are some good tips to keep your water cool in the meantime. One of the best methods, which is very commonly overlooked, is actually the lid on top of your tank. If you switch from one of those more common hooded lids or glass lids to a screen lid, you get a lot more air circulation, airflow, and it will prevent your aquarium from trapping in heat underneath the lid, which will help the water stay cool. Partnered with using a screen lid, if you get a little clip-on fan and put the fan angled at the top of the water to increase airflow, can help the heat move off the top of the water and will also help keep it cool. Air circulation in the room that the tank is in is also important. Via fans and air conditioning units will just help keep the air circulating so heat doesn't build up around the tank. Another tip that a lot of people don't really think about is keeping electronics away from your tank. So TVs, gaming consoles, other electronics like that actually give off a lot of heat that can inadvertently warm your tank up. So keeping your tank further away from all those electronics can actually have a really big impact in keeping your tank cool. Aquarium lighting is another way that you can help mitigate heat coming off. Lights actually give off a lot of heat, so keeping your light off for the times that you're not actively enjoying your tank is another way that you can help keep it cool. If the chance that you do not have an LED light on your axolotl tank, switching to an LED light, those lights actually run a lot cooler than other varieties, so that can be another way that you could mitigate heat. Now moving on to alternate methods that you could use if you do not have a chiller hooked up to your tank just yet. The bottle method is a really good option, and that is the act of using frozen water bottles floating on top of your tank to cool the water down. If you do choose to use this method, you want to be very careful with the bottles that you use. You want to make sure that they have no labels on them, that they have no glue or adhesives that would have held the label onto the bottle. You want to make sure that there was nothing in the bottle that was not water. And when you fill the bottle up with water, you want to make sure that you used aquarium safe and dechlorinated water. If you are planning on reusing, refreezing, and rethawing the water bottles, they can crack over time and sometimes they can accidentally leak in your tank. So that's why it's really important to use water inside the bottle that is safe to accidentally leak inside of the tank. Ice packs are not a good idea for that exact reason because they can crack and leak, and the contents inside of an ice pack can be detrimental, if not fatal, to axolotls if they get in the water column. If you do choose this method, you do have to be very mindful of how fast the ice is melting and make sure you do have lots of backup water bottles in the freezer that you can switch out as soon as the bottle is melted. This is very important because you want to make sure you don't get a lot of temperature swings. If you don't have any ice in the tank at the moment, the temperature can rapidly rise. If you add another bottle, it can rapidly fall down. You want to avoid as many temperature fluctuations as possible, which is why a chiller is the best for keeping the water cool and stable. If you don't want to use frozen bottles, you can use ice cubes if you are in a pinch, but you want to be very careful that you use dechlorinated water to make ice cubes and make sure it is a completely sterile ice cube tray that has never had anything else but ice in it. When adding your frozen water bottles or frozen ice, if you are doing that method, you just want to be mindful of displacement and melting because as the ice melts, the water will rise, and as you add in water bottles, the water will rise. So you just want to make sure you're not going to accidentally overflow your tank. To wrap it up, using an aquarium chiller is going to be the fastest, safest, most consistent, and best method to keep your axolotl tank cool. Good luck with your cold-blooded friends in this upcoming heat wave, and like always, keep it fresh.